Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guys Mo Nawara back in the Midwest, and we've got Nate on the East Coast. And we are looking at a Wednesday night slate here in the MLB. Plenty to choose from in our nighttime and evening games here. So we've got plenty of best bets and stuff on the docket here for you guys. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this MLB regular season, focusing on those night games so we can make sure to get those picks out to you. Also want you to head to thelines.com where we've got plenty of content up there for you guys. Mo and Nate and company, plenty of written content and articles each and every day of this MLB season. Also finishing up that NBA content as well, as those finals are coming to a close pretty soon. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to FDPicks.com or DKPicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for Wednesday night. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, a few day games here on a Wednesday, but nothing really jumping out. So we'll go straight to the night lines here. Braves looking for a 14th straight win against the Nats, are minus 195 with Spencer Strider on the mound. The Rays plus 115, plus 120 maybe at the Yankees. McClanahan versus Nestor Cortes, great matchup there. O's are plus 245 at Toronto. Burns and the Brewers minus 130 at Mets. A's are plus 165 at Red Sox. Pirates plus 140 at Cardinals, who are debuting Jack Flaherty. Padres plus 115 at the Cubbies. Guardians in a toss-up at the Rockies. That is a 12-run total there. And then the Angels are plus 165 at Dodger Stadium. And we're going to open it with the most intriguing matchup is those two nasty lefties, Shane McClanahan and Nestor Cortes at the Bronx here. Me and Josh yesterday liked the under with Garrett Cole on the mound for the Yanks and Corey Kluber able to navigate some innings. I think you got to kind of like the under again here, and also like the value you're getting on the Rays with McClanahan, who's just so tough to square up. I mean, when he does get squared up, I guess the ball, there's a heavy exit velocity because he throws so damn hard. But overall, his exit velocity is down 4 miles per hour from his rookie season. He's only getting contact on 77% of balls in the zone, which is extremely low. Combine that with his 35% swinging plus called strike rate. It's just very hard to square the guy up and go a long way. And the Yankees, they hit for power against lefties, of course, but they also strike out a lot, have mediocre average. So they've only gotten to him for one solo homer here in that last start 2 weeks ago. Gleyber Torres got him in the second inning. Otherwise, McClanahan was great. 4-2 win for the Rays. On the road, he's been even better this year. Righties are hitting 128 against him on the road, guys, as a 1.47 ERA. Just a better pitcher, in my opinion. As great as Cortes is, I'd trust McClanahan more to hold down this lineup because the Rays are kind of pesky against lefties. I mean, they have the third lowest K rate. Cortes still doesn't have incredible length. I don't know how long he'll be out there. He does come right at people with a 72% first strike rate. Got him into a little bit of trouble with the Twins last time. He's just been a little more up and down in terms of giving up a lot of hard contact, a high exit velocity in some of his starts. And I think the Rays have a better chance of squaring him up than the Yankees. And it's just a value thing, like we saying, plus 120 when you have a Cy Young candidate like this on the mound. Yankees have got to lose sometime. It might be against McClanahan in this matchup.
Yes, Cy Young is right. They finally made McClanahan the favorite, which I think is very much correct. I did not think Verlander should be ahead of him in those markets. Yeah, it's two elite lefties and two offenses that have hit lefties pretty well. Yankees 5th in WRC plus, Rays 11th. And yeah, I know Nestor finally had like kind of a rough start against the Twins, but I think his defense honestly let him down quite a bit in that game. Stanton had a pretty atrocious play in the field that really cost them. Not too worried about that. I think the projections are still too low on both of these guys, to be honest. McClanahan 2.2 Sierra, 2.46 xERA, and just a disgusting 16.9% swinging strikes. It seems like he really made an improvement by adding a split change, and he's, I guess throwing it a lot more basically is what he's doing. But holding righties to a 232 WOBA. He's actually been better against righties than lefties in his career. So, I do give him a solid edge here. But Yankees, better offense, better bullpen. Couple of those Rays guys just recently went on the shelf, and they already weren't really impressing me. But maybe also a better defense. Depends on which metric you look at. But I did have this line as fair, but I am interested in the under with these tremendous lefties on the mound, even against these really strong offenses.
Yeah, I mean, I would go both ways and really just follow you guys on that. I do feel pretty good about the Rays. Once again, I think it's one of those situations where they're going to be, if they were going to get those numbers, as Nate mentioned, with a Cy Young candidate on the mound, then I got to feel good about that. And really, I feel like because Nate and I sort of stuck to our guns yesterday with that plus 170 we were getting or so, almost about plus 190 by first pitch in that Yankees Rays game, I think we just keep going with it so that we can still find that value. As we said yesterday, the Rays are 6-9. They were 6-9. Now 6-10 as dogs, but you're still winning. If you still bet them each time, you're still up about plus 170 on your money or so because of the odds that they've been getting. So I think that there's some more value to find there. But let's move things on to the other team in New York. We've got the Brewers playing the Mets here. We've got Corbin Burns. We've got David Peterson, and we have a total of 7.5 runs. So Nate, kick things off for me. What do you like here if it is Corbin Burns and those Brewers on the hill at minus 135? What are you thinking there?
Well, expect some positive regression from Burns, who's just kind of struggled with his control in the last couple starts. And if we expect him to pitch better, then I think we definitely like an under here at 7.5. That Mets offense has been hot lately, but I mean, now facing this guy, you got to think they'll cool off a little bit. And then the Brewers offense is just dreadful against lefties. They're 29th in batting average, 28th in weighted runs created plus, and David Peterson is at least a serviceable lefty who's not going to get pounded. His exit velocity is way down along with his home run fly ball ratio this year. I think he can navigate some innings against this team. Burns actually giving up a lot more hard contact than his size season, but still missing bats at an incredible rate. It's the same swinging call plus called strike rate. It's the same nasty stuff. And I just think that the Brewers are due to play more low-scoring games with him on the mound. Their last 3 have gone over with Burns starting, but prior to that, 7 of 8 Burns starts went under the total. Brewers are also 18-13 to the under outside of their division, and their offense is really what I'm leaning towards mostly because they're the ones who have an exploitable matchup, and they're averaging just 3.3 runs per game, while going 8-15 in their last 23. So I think under first and foremost, and that's really the value I see in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Like we've been saying, I've been saying this for weeks. I'm just looking to exploit Milwaukee's offense when they face a lefty. 85 WRC plus. That's atrocious. They did get Hunter Renfroe back, so that definitely helps them. I think Willy Adames as well, although he's maybe not as much of a splits guy, if I'm recalling correctly. But they've gotten a little punch back, but honestly just been regressing just past few weeks to what I thought their offense was going to be all season. I don't think this is that great of a lineup. I was surprised how many runs they were scoring earlier in the season. David Peterson is a guy who honestly cost me a lot of money last year. He just kind of couldn't pitch to what I thought were decent skills. But this year he's been actually the other way, much luckier than his skills, but still pitching with decent skills. Looking like he should be around a low 4s ERA guy, which is fine. And especially in this matchup, walks have been an issue for him at times. And this year, man, his first strike rate is absolutely abysmal, 45%. But Milwaukee, even though they do have a patient lineup, it's still middle of the pack in terms of walk rate versus lefties. And as far as Burns goes, he did have a couple of rough starts recently, but I checked into his velocity in those starts. It was actually up. So I don't think anything's wrong with him. Probably just a couple baseball starts where baseball things happen. Full season numbers are still tremendous. 2.48 ERA, 2.73 Sierra. he's throwing 55% cutters, and that's where I think this matchup gets really good for him. The Mets were like bottom 5 against cutters, so that's Burns' best pitch and his most used pitch. So pretty good spot for him to hold down a lineup that's been great.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they've won David Peterson's last 5 starts, I believe, or last 6 starts, actually. Kind of an indication of him needing a lot of help. As you mentioned, he's been getting great run support from this offense. The defense has actually been playing pretty well against him with that BABIP. So I do think it's not necessarily a wonderful opportunity to bet the Mets with, against that lefty on the mound as well. But I do think the under with the way that Peterson has been playing might be the play, just because, especially, I do think Burns will have some success against this Mets lineup, as we've been saying. So let's finish things off here, guys, in maybe not the sexiest matchup in Chicago with the Pods and the Cubs, with young Ryan Weathers coming to the mound here for the Padres, taking on the Cubs and Caleb Killian. We have a total of 11.5 runs here. The Cubs sit at plus 126 on the money line. So kick things off for us, Mo. What are you looking at in this game? Pretty intriguing matchup. If not a super known one, it's definitely intriguing.
Yeah, interesting spot here because of the weather. These are always kind of funny games to track. These weird Wrigley games where you get these 15 mile per hour plus winds out. I feel like sometimes they can't set the lines high enough on these. I definitely recall one from a couple weeks ago with the Brewers where the total was like 11, got steamed up to like 12.5 or something. And I think like 17 runs were scored. I feel like we could see something like that again here, especially with Ryan Weathers on the mound. His splits are really, really, really stark. 367 WOBA allowed versus righties. I mean, 331 versus lefties is not anything to write home about, but 367 is, you're just allowing every hitter to basically be an all-star. 381 as a starter, and he was actually pretty good as a reliever. I think they started him as a starter last year, and he was pretty bad, so they moved him to the pen where he actually pitched okay. But yeah, he's back starting in AAA, 7.29 ERA and a 6.88 FIP, and that's not over like 3 starts or anything. And yeah, his swinging strikes sucked last year, and he's only getting 9.4% AAA. So he got rushed basically to the majors. He had 10 innings of upper minors experience and really hadn't developed his third pitch at all when they needed emergency starters and moved him up last year. And they called him up again. I'm not anticipating anything good happening, especially when I'm looking at his batted ball stuff. 35% grounders only this year in AAA. So this is not the day to be allowing a bunch of fly balls. So if he does that, I think the Cubs could pile up runs in a hurry. I actually am kind of impressed by this Caleb Killian. His minor league numbers are really good. The computers are definitely impressed. They have him as like a low 4s ERA when he has basically no major league experience. So that's not usually happening since they regress these guys pretty hard. And he actually is getting grounders, 58% in AAA this year. So it's basically just a spot where I'm already interested in the Cubs, but then the weather makes me really, really favor the Cubs here. I got them like minus 120 and they got hammered overnight, but still think it's maybe worth a look around minus 130. I think an interesting way to play this game would be to maybe take some Cubs alternate overs or big Cubs alternate spreads, because if weather starts allowing a bunch of dingers, this could get out of hand quick.
Yeah, the Cubs run line jumps out at me, even though it's 6 runs and some homer props for righties against Weathers. I mean, you can do the player performance double. Wilson Contreras to homer in the win, plus 380. That's worth a look along with some of their other righties, because as you mentioned, yeah, Weathers just giving up a ton of big flies, even in AAA here, a 2.0 home run per 9 ratio, slightly better on the road in the majors, but still an 18% home run fly ball ratio. And when you're giving up a lot of fly balls and the wind's blowing in that small stadium, big problem. Cubs should be favored with Killian because, yeah, he's been able to get ground balls, and he was able to get a lot of called strikes in his debut. I mean, a 1.94 FIP against the Cardinals is very impressive, holding that offense down. He wasn't able to pitch well with guys on base, but the Padres, not the greatest driving in runs, 27th in home run rate. I don't think this spot really favors them, as they have the 7th worst WOBA against righties. Though I don't know if they're going to come along in a shootout or a slugfest, and that's why Cubs to carry us towards the over is probably the better bet.
It might be the better bet, yeah. And I would look at some player performance totals. I don't love the Cubs bullpen, as we were talking about earlier either, which I don't know if either of these guys are going to go very far, which obviously means we're returning this thing over to some bullpens. And I think the offense, once again, continues to thrive there. So I do think that the offense is definitely a great play here, as the ball will be going out of the park. Poor Ryan Weathers just continues to get thrown into situations he's not ready for. But the Padres still remain now atop the NL West with the Doyers. So I don't imagine that they're really, they're trying to win every game, obviously, at this point. And so that I think they are going to be relying heavily on the offense. And I think we see a lot of it. So this is a good moment in time to have some fun with a matchup that we might not otherwise have cared about very much. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us. We'll be back with you each and every weekday of this MLB regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.